Ngosi Talk Shows family, is Nomsa here at Ngosi Talk Shows, the Find Your Own Voice, lead from within. With me today, I have Nick Motichka and Amanda Marie. How are you guys?
Good.
Awesome, awesome. So our topic, our topic today is shifting from scarcity to abundance, the key to unlocking prosperity. Are you someone who is tired, like never, who is never, are you tired of feeling like there is never enough in your life? It's time to shift your mindset and from scarcity to abundance and unlocking the doors of prosperity. I'm still half asleep, guys. I have been sleeping very late. Today we'll explore the changing of your thoughts and beliefs that can affect your life, that can affect your financial situation, overall your well-being, and we'll give some practical tips and really life examples and how you can learn to overcome limiting beliefs and attract abundance into your life. Amanda, what do you guys think about the topic?
I really like this topic because I think so much of this has to do with our mindset and our mindset shifts and our ability to look at abundance in all areas of our life, not necessarily just one piece of our life, because abundance can look different for everyone. And for certain people, abundance is abundance of time and having time to actually spend doing what you really want to do. And that's prosperity. And that is when you're feeling full, is really the prosperity that we're searching for, not necessarily always that monetary prosperity. And I think that in our society, so often we only focus on that monetary prosperity when we should be focusing on prosperity in all areas of our life and feeling abundant and full in all areas. So I'm excited to see how our conversation will shift and maybe shift people's mindsets a little bit today.
This is really interesting topic, and the timing of it is also interesting and no coincidence. So I'm currently doing a basically limiting belief replacement, basically a 6-week course I'm doing through he's a shaman here in Canada. He's an Algonquin medicine man and neurolinguist and hypnotist and shaman, and just an all-around really powerful, interesting human being. And he was talking about, basically, we talk about clearing all these negative self-doubt and self-sabotage, and you hear a lot in the spiritual community of going in and clearing that. And his take on it is that when you clear something, a belief that you've had your entire life from your subconscious, it leaves basically the outline of what that belief used to be. So it's now an empty space in your subconscious, and your subconscious then recognizes there's an empty space, and there's like this perfect shadow of this limiting belief left in this place where it was cleared from. So and again, this is probably the neurolinguist in him, is instead of clearing these beliefs and the self-doubt and the sabotage and all of those things that we all, I think, do to ourselves in varying degrees, instead of clearing them, we replace them with a better thought, with something that's more positive, with something that's maybe the opposite of whatever your previously held belief was. And it's been really powerful for me. My wife and I actually are doing it together, this course, and it's been really, really interesting. And one thing that I just want to, I guess, highlight from what he's been teaching so far, and that was that where was I going to go with that? I'll have to come back to that. I had a really profound thing to say, and then it was like gone that quickly. So yeah, this this topic and that mindset shift and limiting beliefs and all those things that are in even the title of our topic today. And so switching from scarcity to abundance is, it's really top of mind right now. And it's something that is so prevalent. I don't even think we realize how much we sabotage ourselves. And I remember where I was going now. And it was that this self-sabotage and these negative beliefs and these different things that we do to ourselves to basically keep ourselves small. It's a self-protection mechanism, and it was basically put into place likely when you were a child, and it's because you love yourself at the end of the day, and you were trying to protect yourself from getting hurt, from putting yourself out there, from doing something that would get you noticed, and then you've had a situation in your life where that became a negative thing, where someone said something awful to you, or your parents said something that was not helpful, or someone important in your life had made that a negative thing for you as a child. And so now you have this basically self-sabotage programming that's running in your subconscious that you obviously don't know about. And that at the end of the day, it's trying to protect you, and it's doing that out of love. And so recognizing that you're doing these things out of love for yourself was another big mindset shift for me. Looking at, because you look at your life and you look at some of the things that you do, and you have those moments of clarity where you realize it's like, I'm really limiting myself in this aspect of my life. And why do I always do that? And then to have that shift of, okay, I do it because of, maybe you can even remember what that specific story was when you were a child or a young person. And then so you understand that, and then to have basically compassion for yourself in that you've been doing that because of love for yourself. And so I'm excited to chat more about all of these little nuances in this world and this topic. But I think this is gonna be a good one.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me? Can you? Okay. Thank you so much, Nick and Amanda. I actually agree with you, Nick. The things that we go through, or the things that are said to us when we're young, or even when you're older. That's why they always say words are so powerful. If they go into subconscious mind, they can affect everything we do in life. And the simple confidence, if you don't have enough confidence, there are some people, like I've had other coaches saying sometimes they can feel like they're flawed, even though they deserve to actually get to where they are. They feel like they don't deserve it. And I think that is fear that can actually cause a barrier to succeed. And when I started, I was like, there was something like a fear within me starting my business. Like, what if things go quickly, and will I be able to handle things? But then I had to work on myself. Like, I deserve it because I work really hard. And when you do some research, starting a business is not an easy thing. And but some people, they do limit themselves. So we are all guilty of all doing those things. And it's very, very important sometimes to actually identify the barriers that are stopping you manifesting the life that you want. And also the mindset is very important to actually analyze where your mindset is, and in order for you to nurture a mindset of abundance. Does not require fear. It does not require you telling yourself that you're not enough, or really second think about yourself. You just have to have this mind of wanting what you want to achieve, and at the same time, this energy that brings us abundance. God is in the universe. There's this galaxy where the energy manifests. So if the energy is manifesting for you seeking abundance, but then if he senses fear, the connection will not be connected, so it will just back away, wait for you to be ready. So when you are manifesting this abundance, you want to unlock the prosperity, you have to be ready for everything. You have to be ready to actually receive your blessings, whatever you are manifesting. Or like right now, we are here, coaches, we come here every day and we add value. So you have to be ready to actually receive the outcome of abundance and prosperity. Over to you, Amanda.
I really like what you were saying, Nick, about how the shaman is telling you how to, when you get rid of those limiting beliefs, there's actually like a space left. And that space needs to be filled. And if you don't replace it with something, then essentially that's going to come back, right? Because you're already programmed to have that exact same thing in that space. And it also relates to our habits, because I've learned through like multiple books of our habits, if we start to create a new habit, we actually have to replace that limiting belief with something else. So if we want to quit smoking, say if you were a smoker, if you wanted to quit smoking, you actually have to find something that's going to replace that habit for you. And so if you don't find a replacement, then you'll quickly go back into that habit, because there's like this emptiness left in that space. And so even like if you watch a bunch of TV and you're like, okay, I need to stop watching TV, well, what are you going to put in that place so that you're then filling it and creating a new habit? And so new habits or new mindsets come with consciously replacing them with something else and sticking to it, because as humans, we go back to like the easiest level of what we're able to achieve, because based on our evolution, we want ease. Our brains want to keep going back to ease and back to ease and back to ease. And so when we make our new habit our ease, that's what we start to do all the time. When we make our new mindset our ease, that's where our mind goes all of the time, because we've consciously reprogrammed ourselves in order to be like, this is our ease state. Whereas when we're trying to shift it, it's not our ease state. And we have to be really, really conscious so that that one thing that we're trying to shift then eventually becomes our new unconscious state. And that's what we're really striving for when we are going from scarcity to abundance and unlocking prosperity, is when we make our subconscious levels, those levels that we're trying to shift and get out of those spaces that we're clearing, and we're filling ourselves with new healthy habits, is really that place where it just becomes automatic, where you automatically, your mindset you catch yourself and go to the conscious set that you're trying to do, right? And same with our habits. If you eat like fast food 3 times a week, say, and you're trying to start eating healthier and lose weight and start to exercise, when you start to making healthy choices your go-to, then that becomes really easy, but it takes a long time to get there sometimes. And we always have to replace it with something else. Otherwise, we fall back into that automatically almost. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it in terms of, physical habit that we do. And then because what we're kind of doing here today is on that mental side, right? It is like how we talk to ourselves and what we believe and what we think. And so it's cool to have that connection. And I'm fascinated by the human body in general, and just how we operate in the world. It's just so fascinating to take a deeper look and really think about some of the things that are going on. And I'm reminded of when we learn something new, and it's always so awkward and it's clunky, and you feel just like it just doesn't feel good or right at all when you're first doing that new thing, whatever it is. If it's learning how to ride a bike, or as a kid, or anything as an adult, it always has that same kind of like weird feeling at first, and how quickly we can all of a sudden, with a little bit of practice and just doing it over, even a few times, it's like all of a sudden it's like going a lot smoother and things are flowing and connecting. And it's like, to think about what's actually going on there, and what you're doing is you're creating these neural pathways in your brain to connect this movement with at this time, or there's lots of different variables that are going on, but those things are actually happening in your brain. And we learn so quickly that we almost don't realize what's going on internally. And it's for me, I just sort of take a step back and just almost enjoy those moments of like awkwardness, and then to have as a baseline, and then feel how quickly we can advance and get better at something. And so that's a physical skill, or something that you're doing in the physical world. And to then now to relate that to what we're talking about today, and that's that mindset is so important, and how we think, and the thoughts that we have, and then those thoughts become words, and those words become actions, and then that becomes your reality. So your thoughts and what your predominant state of being, and what goes on in your head every day, that becomes your reality. And so to consciously shift that away from something that you don't want, because for so many of us, we're constantly saying things that we don't want, and we're focusing on all this negative stuff that we don't want to have happen, and we don't want in our life. And that is just a really bad way to go about it, because that your subconscious doesn't know the difference between a negative and a positive. It's like, well, you're thinking about all this terrible stuff all the time. It's like, I guess that's what you want. And so here you go. Here's all this negative, terrible things happening to you. And we don't even realize that we are actually creating that ourselves. And so with some conscious effort, you can shift that. It's certainly not easy. Absolutely. I will never tell you that it's easy, because change is really hard. And it's because of what we've just been talking about, that little hole that's left with whatever that behavior is. It's a real thing. And like that habit, or that thought pattern, or whatever it is, will come back and replace it if you're not careful and without diligence. But it's possible, and it's so important, because at the end of the day, we literally create our own realities with our thoughts. And I don't know about you guys, but I would like to clean that up as best as possible to create the best possible life. And this is where it starts. So this is super important to talk about.
Yeah, I also agree with you, Nick. It's very, very important, and Amanda, to actually, you guys mentioned that you have to replace your habits with new ones, and also maintain, when you replace them, you have to make sure that you maintain that process. Otherwise, you fall back to your bad habits. Is very, very important. That's why you find that some people, they do something and then they fall back to their bad habits. And also it's very, very important to reflect on your beliefs system. Beliefs system is very, very, very important, because like Nick, you mentioned, our thoughts, they become things. And whatever we think, that's why in the day, like myself, if I find myself thinking about something that is negative, I have to actually acknowledge it and just cancel it. Because I don't want those thoughts to affect my life. And also what the thoughts that the thoughts and beliefs, and what we hold about ourselves as well. And also we need to Think about the actually the abilities of worthiness, of abundance. How do we value ourselves? And sometimes it's nice to write them down. For me, in order for me to create the habits that I have now, I used to write my bad habits down. And when I write them down, like if I write my thoughts, and then when I go back and read it, it helps, it allows me to identify where I need to change. And sometimes I'll read them, I'll just read them, and then I'm like, now, why am I thinking this? Or if you look at my diary, sometimes when I read them, some of them, I'm like, I don't know who wrote this, but it was me. So you just have to write them in practice and allow yourself to be honest as well without blaming. We are very, very quick to blame ourselves, like to question why do we feel this way? Why other people are doing the things that they do. You need to focus on yourself and be honest, and your vulnerability as well. Let yourself be vulnerable through the process. Just be aware, and also be aware of the areas where you are stuck, and be honest. If you need help, seek help. And this may include a relationship, it may include finances, it may include your career, it may include simple personal growth. So if you're really, really, really honest with where you need help or where you need to work on, it will help you moving forward. Like myself, I look at my beliefs, and I look at my desires, and I look at my thoughts. I look at where my life, the growth, how my life is growing. When my website wasn't working, actually my clients called me and said, Nomsa, do you realize your website is not working? So I was like, what do you mean it's not working? So in that moment, my immediate thought were like, okay, what do I do now? So straight away, I just went online. I know if my pastor has churches around the world. So I know if I go on Google, I'll find one of our pastors, one of our churches there online. So I just joined the prayer all night. I was praying with them all night. They were doing overnight, because that is my beliefs, that when I have a problem, I need to pray to get some help. And when I got up in the morning, there were people everywhere, because that's what I was praying, actually willing to help me to actually sort out the problems, because I don't have time to sit down and feel sorry for myself. So quickly, I have to think, how can I use my beliefs to help me to get to where I need to go, because I need to succeed in life. So when I sorted out, okay, the website, somebody's going to build it, rebuild it. Now it was my email. So I find out that somebody has hacked my website, because the website is actually there, but it's not allowed to go up due to court case. They took themselves to court, the person that built the website with theirs. And then it is not allowed to go up, but somebody else has gone in and hacked the website to blackmail me, to pay ransom money. And then they've hacked my business email as well. So I wasn't getting the emails. There's no website. So for the whole week, trying to figure out, until the people that I have domain with, they went in and investigated, and they were like, somebody's actually trying, because when you have a business, the email, it costs lots of money. So they were trying to blackmail for you to actually. So I was like, things can actually get worse. My website is put down, and then somebody's actually hacked it with the email address. But things got sorted out, because I just had to actually have this mindset of asking abundance and going into the universe, because God created the universe, and actually asking, I need help. Show me people that can help. I was amazed at how you see people just coming together and just to help. So those are the things that if anyone is watching our audience, just use your beliefs, and also don't fear problems when it comes to life. When they come, they are there to test us. So we just have to You have to know your path, where you want to go. Write down, if you fear something, write it down. Your feelings, communicate with your feelings. I used to think that going for coffee with somebody and communicate with them is going to help me. But now I'm realizing it doesn't help, because when you understand how the universe works, God is there waiting. So if you tell your friends are just going to tell you something. But if you speak to a coach and speak to your helpers, people that can help you, and if your mindset is not in the right place as well, just work on it. It takes time, like Nick was saying, that is not an easy thing. But the good thing is, once you get used to it, it becomes a habit. Over to you, Amanda.
One of the things that I've been doing for like resetting my mindset is I'm always reading, and I always love reading, and I always find that every single time I read any book that I read, take something away from it. And sometimes I'll even go back to books and read them like a second or third time, like if I haven't read them in a while. And I got this new book last week. It's called Miracle Mornings. And essentially, it's really about starting your day on a positive and focused note. And one of the things in it that I took from it, and when I actually listened to him speak on a podcast, which is why I bought this book, and I think this is really, really profound. And it's a quote by Jim Rohn. And it says, "Our level of success will rarely exceed our level of personal development, because success is something we attract by who we become." And so if you want to live, like what they say in the book, a level 10 life, first you need to become that level 10 person. And in order to become that level 10 person, you have to start behaving that way. So does the level 10 you work out every day? Does the level 10 you binge on fast food? Does the level 10 you argue with your spouse about menial things and tasks, or your children? Does the level 10 you take courses? And what I loved you saying, Nick, was that you are taking a course, and that you and your wife are taking one together. And that personal development piece, well, you don't even realize that you're doing it, because you're like, oh, I'm taking this course, and like last time we talked, or a while ago when we talked, you had just come back from a retreat, and you had learned a whole bunch of things at the retreat to share with us. And this personal development piece, like, we are all lifelong learners. And if we don't choose to continuously learn and continuously grow, then we get stuck. And so I think sometimes our feeling of scarcity and lack of abundance and lack of prosperity is that we are not actually doing that personal development piece to help us grow. And so as a teacher, I always look at it like, how can I inspire children to be lifelong learners? Because when they are self-motivated to continue personal development, they're always going to see growth, right? And also that growth piece comes from our recognition that we are all abundant, and that when we shift our mindset from lack to gratitude, you look around and you can realize how much you're can be grateful for all the time. And it completely shifts your mood. It completely shifts how you feel in that moment, but it also shifts your reality. So as a single mom, sometimes I struggle where I'm like, oh, I'm a single mom, and like all of these things are not going so great. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I own my own home. I have a great job, a great kid. I can provide for my child completely by myself. I've learned how to write books. I speak on a podcast. Like, how many people can say that they own their own home and do this at all by themselves, and have been doing it all by themselves for over 10 years? So like, when I go into that mode, I'm like, oh, I'm way more powerful than I thought. But I get into those like self-pity modes where I'm like, oh, I'm just a single mom. Like, how do I provide the best life for my kid? And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, my kid has more than like 90% of the children in the world. Like, stop being hard on yourself. But I do sometimes still get hard on myself and still get into those stuck mindsets. Yet when I take a step back and I take a breath and I go, okay, but I can be grateful for my beautiful backyard. I can be grateful for going to the gym and setting healthy habits with my daughter, where we go to the gym on a regular basis, and we can see the prosperity all around us, even in this moment. Yet my mind sometimes goes into this scarcity piece, and when in reality we have nothing to be scarce about. And it's really so much is about our mindset. But I love also in this book, like, and in every book, because I'm constantly reading, and it's what we do each day. What we do today is what's going to create our future. What our mindset is today is what's going to create our tomorrow, or create our hour from now. Right. And so if we want to live a level 10 life, then we have to start becoming that level 10 person right now. So does that level 10 person go out and binge drink this weekend? I don't know. My level 10 doesn't. Your level 10 might be different than mine. Right. And so when we begin to question ourselves, and even if you get into a point and you're like, what is the best version of myself going to do today? What is the best version of myself going to look like at the end of this year? What is the best version of myself going to look at the end of the week? So they talk about level 10. I talk about, for myself, I'm like, okay, what's the best version of myself? And because that's different for each person, right? And the best version of myself today, if I'm sick and tired and feeling awful, maybe the best version of myself just gets up and like makes myself a meal, right? If you're like have the flu or something, and that's in that moment today. But the best version of myself, as I continue to grow and continue to learn, maybe the best version of myself for the first time picks up a book and starts reading for 5 minutes a day. And then next year it's 10 minutes a day, or next week it's 10 minutes a day. And you just continuously keep growing on that personal development piece. You're going to see abundance surround you in all areas, because abundance is about body, mind, and spirit. And when you connect all of those things and you look at your life holistically, you'll start to see it attract in all areas.
I like that. And the part that really resonates for me is that kind of like self-compassion piece. And yeah, realizing that what's good for you today, when you're not feeling that good, even if at the end of the day you're like, oh man, and you have all this like guilt and you self-talk yourself, like say terrible things to yourself. It's like, no, you got to have grace for yourself too, right? Because it is a process, and you're going to have ups and downs, and you're going to have good days and bad days, and all of those things. So just have patience with yourself and don't let it derail you. You gotta keep going, because it's not what you do once in a while that matters. It's what you do every day that truly matters. And I have a couple of quotes up above my desk here where I'm sitting right now, and the one it says, "Does this support the life I'm trying to create?" So in any moment or any decision or any activity that I'm in, trying to remember that, it's like, okay, is this supporting the life I want to create, or is this distracting me or wasting my time or not helpful? And then the other one is, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And it's like that mindset shift. Like if we were able to get into that mindset of like, if you knew that whatever you did, as long as it was in alignment and all those things, if you couldn't fail, it's like, wow, if everyone did that, it'd be a special world that we would be living in. And I was thinking too, is that the natural state of the universe, of everything and everyone in the universe, is abundance. That is our natural state. When we're not in abundance, we're doing something to sabotage that. As you look outside, and we've just had a bunch of rain here, and so everything is just beautiful. The sun's out for the first time, and so like you look outside and there is no lack of blades of grass out there. There is no lack of leaves on the tree. There's no lack of birds and all the bugs and everything out there, right? Everything is in abundance everywhere you look in nature. And we as humans get caught up in these negative self-sabotage, just wrong thinking, and we end up limiting ourselves from that natural abundance. And so I had actually at that retreat you just spoke about that I was at, the one speaker, she's a very, very successful businesswoman. And she said, if money is not flowing to you, you are the dam. And I was like, oh, yeah. So, and it's so true. If you just use that kind of example I just gave of nature, how there's an abundance of everything in nature, and that is the natural state of everything. And if you're not in that, then that's on you, basically, which is like kind of scary, but at the same time empowering, because it is on you and you have that control. It might not feel like it, but you 100% do. And you create, like I've been talking about, is you create your reality, and that all starts with your mindset. And so getting grateful is a super powerful way to get around that. And then Nomsa, you mentioned journaling. I think that's another really powerful way to identify where you're self-sabotaging, or potentially even where those limiting beliefs came from. And so I really like both of those, and I do those practices regularly, and it's super helpful. I just did some journaling yesterday around this abundance, the self-sabotage stuff that I've been talking about. And I think I've been able to identify a lot of it for me, and it goes back to childhood and some of the things I was told as a child, like in the family I grew up in, very like, middle class, nothing, there was no ambition to do anything outside of that from my parents. And so that was definitely taught to me. And I was always told as a kid, money doesn't grow on trees and money is hard. And when I would want something outside of what I was getting, I'd be told like you were born, I remember this all the time, being told I was born into the wrong family. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense where that limiting belief comes from, right? It's like, that was my formative years, and those were the people that were most important into shaping my consciousness at that point. And they were telling me to dim my light. And it's like, I don't want to even do that anymore. And it's taken, well, I'm in my own mid 40s now, and it's taken that many years to get to a point where I've identified that and where those beliefs come from. Like, that was when I was a kid. Like,
I have a question for you. When did you start recognizing that, where those patterns came from? Because what you just said is almost exactly things that my parents used to say to me. And the other one, I'm just going to add on to what you were saying quickly. They would say, if we didn't have kids, we would have money. Like, those are the things that stick with you for your whole life, right? And so they literally would blame having children on their lack of abundance in their life. And I'm like, I don't know if that's why I became a teacher, so I can be like, spread love to all of these kids, as much love as possible, so that they know that they are loved and valued and all of those things, because that was a limiting belief that was stuck on me. But it's interesting how, like, almost verbatim, what you were saying your parents said to you is exactly what was said to me too. And so how do you shift out of that? And then when did you become aware of it? Because I think the sooner you become aware of that subconscious programming from your childhood, that's when you start. That's like the beginning of the tip of the iceberg of where you're like, okay, I'm going to snowball down this path of just self-realization of and it just starts snowballing into all this awareness of where these beliefs come from.
Yeah. So it was journaling yesterday that I figured that out. So yeah, I mean, I've had the memory of those things being said to me as a kid for, a couple of years, I would say, but I didn't really put it together and connect that, oh, okay, that makes so much sense where that limiting belief comes from, right? It's just it makes so much sense. And yeah, it sounds like we had very similar upbringings in a lot of senses. And it's just why why should I buy into the like wrong belief that my parents had, right? It's just like, that doesn't support the life I'm trying to create at all, right? Quite the opposite. And so, but yeah, you nailed it in the sense that once you've identified that, now I can see clearly how that's not helping me at all. And in order to basically just blend in and stay, you know, small and part of that family that I grew up in, I've dimmed my light, and I've, you know, kept myself doing basically the same thing. Not basically, I did the exact same career that my dad did, right? Is like, it's like, oh yeah, that's another reason why I chose that career that wasn't in alignment for me at all, is because that was set as the bar. Like that was it. That was all I was able to create in this world, which is not correct at all. Like we are infinite beings that, yeah, are 100% able to do whatever we want in life if we so choose and put in the effort and all of that. And so it was really powerful to identify those things. And now the work is, of course, replacing those beliefs with the possibilities are endless, and that money is flowing to me every day easily and with just complete ease, and without me having to do anything for it. And like, anyway, so like completely flipping those and replacing them. So that's the work that's ongoing for sure.
Let me mute myself. I like it when Amanda says, if you want to live a life, you have to live. And if you want to level 10, you have to make sure that everything is aligned with your level 10, so that you can receive that abundance. And also you mentioned body, spirit, and our body and spirit and soul. So I think it's very, very important to also, what I've realized, there's so many people who are alive, but they're not actually alive. They're like a walking zombie. Because if you don't, like meditation, when you meditate, you activate your spirit within, your inner spirit, your winning spirit, to be in the present moment. But when your life is being hit by problems after problems after problems, you come to a point where you surrender to the problems. That means your subconscious mind is doing the same. It will do the same. So you then need to work on activating that subconscious mind to be awake. But if you not, that's when the power of creativity disappears. The power of you claiming your birthright. The universe is all about birthright. Then it disappears. So that's why some people, they go to the grave, never achieved anything. And also, Nick, you mentioned the mindset. You have to, if your mindset is not in the right place, like you mentioned in the money, in order for the money to flow through you, you have to have that mindset. I'm not talking about the obsession. So when I was having these problems, my pastor, Dr. Olukoya, I was listening to him online, gave us the prayer, like if you're feeling powerlessness, that means something is not right within yourself. So I was like, okay, and then I go to church, my pastor does the same. So I've been working on these prayers that I've been using myself based on my beliefs, because for me, I believe in God and I trust in God. So there's a time where a few days ago, and I got really confused, and I was like, why do I keep having problems after problems? So I'm praying and I'm praying and I'm praying, and I hear this message that no, Nomsa, the racism, slavery thing in the physically, it disappeared, but in the spirit is still there. I got really angry when I felt that feeling. I got really, really angry that you're trying to stop me moving forward. So I got really angry. The minute I got really angry and letting the universe know my feelings, I could feel this, like this breeze moving away. It's like this energy moving away. And I was like, I got really angry, got vocally that you're never ever going to stop me. I am moving forward because, so I had a chat with Shireen as well. And she was like, sometimes she feel the same, like there's this guilt that comes in that our ancestors, the wrongs that they have done and stuff. But then I realized when I'm actually doing this, because I'm alert, now the message is being brought to me that why am I experiencing these problems? And when I'm saying these prayers, that I'm saying the things are being laid in front of me. So now it's up to me, because some of them are scary. It's up to me to actually receive them and deal with them. So I was like, I am going to deal with this. And then I realized that actually there are some energies that are coming in. Like when I pray and I say, God, the angels are coming in saying you need to stick to the direction where you are going, but this is how you need to deal with it, and get really angry in spirit. So when I get really angry, I feel that these energies are moving away. So I was like, I'm no slave to no one. I wasn't born to be a slave to no one. I was born to have this destiny, and I want my destiny. This is what I desire. It is my destiny. And I was like shocked. I'm sitting there and I was like, this cannot be real. So then I understand that sometimes when you read the Bible, says you have to understand the physical world and the spirit world. And then it says the things that you get rid of in the physically, you have to deal with them in the spirit as well. So all those things, I was like, this is what it means. It means my ancestors went through slavery, and we've never dealt with it. So now it's me that is dealing with it. And I'm like, the police are actually dealing with people like who are sending me threat messages in my office regarding racism. So me, I thought it was just racism. And this energy is because of the slavery, what your bloodline went through, your ancestors, you have to deal with. It says there is a limitation of what Black people can do or what they cannot do. So I was like, okay. So I started doing, and I spoke to Shannon. She was like, yeah, she looked into it as well before. She was like, I feel guilty, Nomsa, sometimes. But it's those things that you actually, the reason why I'm sharing this is sometimes people give up, because I could have easily given up when I see these problems coming in. And I could have easily actually say, you know what, I don't want to do this. But I'm not giving up. So why I'm sharing this to our audience is whatever you go through in life, you need to keep going, because if you keep going while you are in this edge of having your breakthrough, but then you give up, can you imagine what your life will be? So for me, I made no means of giving up. And when I was like going really angry, and this, I could feel the spirit was leaving, and it was like, it just made a thing that you are completely bonkers. I'm leaving, you're bonkers. And I was like, yes, I'm going to succeed. And no one is going to stop me. I'm in no slavery to nobody. My ancestors, I just went angry. I was like, my ancestors went through slavery. That does not mean that I have to go through it in the physically. No one is going to stop me. But now I'm realizing when I'm speaking to my pastor, he goes, welcome to the real world, Nomsa. This is the real world. What you're doing now is the real world. When you feel sorry for yourself, or when we pray for people, they think you come in and then we touch your head, everything is okay, you get a miracle. It's like when you manifest, you have to do the work. So I was like, okay.
Well, there was a lot. You know what you just said. I know there's research on looking at 7 generations behind and then 7 generations ahead. And essentially the cells of our body contain information from 7 generations behind us, and it will send DNA.
Yeah, Amanda, you're right. Mine is 7 generation as well. Because when my ancestors moved, the ones that moved to South Africa, They came from Kenya and Nigeria, they moved to South Africa. That was 7 generations before, but it affected those ones. And those ones that were shipped to a different country is a 5th generation.
Yeah, so they did some research on, I think it was rats or mice, and the rats that were programmed to fear electric shock before going to the feeder, their 7 generations later still feared that. And that was actually like a First Nations belief as well, is to look 7 generations behind. And then when you're any decision that you're making, look 7 generations ahead. And so, and then science was actually starting being able to prove that there is really something to that spiritual belief, which I think is fascinating. As you were talking to, you said something about some people will never achieve, they die like basically never achieving what their potential is. And I'm really just loving this book, and I just got it actually the other day. First Amazon lost it, so I had to reorder it. But it says, according to Social Security Administration, if you take any 100 people at the start of their working careers and follow them for the next 40 years until they reach retirement, here's what you'll find. Only 1 will be wealthy, 4 will be financially secure, 5 will continue working not because they want to, but because they have to. 36 will be dead, and 54 will be broke and dependent on their friends, family, relatives, and the government to take care of them. That's based on statistics out of the US. And so if you want to join the top 5%, those people who are the 1 will be wealthy and 5 will be financially, or 4 will be financially secure, you really have to change what you're doing. And he even talks about in this that like only 5% of people who read this book will actually implement what it says in it, based solely on statistics. And so really it is so much about our mindset and what we do and what we choose to do each and every day to unlock that prosperity. And so when you do read books like this, or books like what, I don't know, Nick, whatever book you're reading right now, because I know you read lots of inspirational books as well, is what are you taking out of it and actually implementing into your life each day? Because if I read this book once, didn't implement anything, and just tossed it on my bookshelf, it's not going to change my life. It's going to be like, yeah, I had some great ideas in there. It's what you actually act on, what you learn, when you actually act on the personal development that you're taking. Like, you could take all the courses in the world, but if you don't implement any of the practices that you learn or any of the growth that comes from that, then you're not going to grow. You're going to stay stuck. So when we do want to manifest something, there's also work that is involved in us as well. And they talk about that in The Secret, is that you can make vision boards and all of the things, but you still have to do the work. You can't just lay on the couch and watch TV all day and be like, oh yeah, all this wealth is going to come to me. It doesn't work like that. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to do something that you've never done before in order to attract and build the life that you want to build.
Very true. So the book I'm reading right now is Happy Pocket Full of Money. And I've read it once, and now I have the audio book, because it's a lot. It's really deep, and I've kind of struggled reading it. So now the audiobook, it seems to be sticking more. And so they were in that book, they were talking about people that win the lottery and the percentage of those people that end up completely broke within a very short period of time. And it's kind of almost a study in the sense of it shows that that's a mindset. Wealth is a mindset. You can be given millions of dollars, but if you don't change your mindset from scarcity to abundance, even with millions of dollars in the bank, you're going to end up back in that scarcity place. And it's all because of your beliefs and your mindset. And so super fascinating how, and as an example of just how important that is, right? Is that those beliefs at the end of the day are actually more important than even your physical reality, in that sense of, if you were a lotto winner but you didn't change your beliefs, you're going to end up back in a situation probably worse than you're in now. So it all starts from within. And yeah,
Something
go ahead.
weird too about, like, on that same topic of Will Smith, and like when he first took off, made $1 million in 1 year, but was like $2 million in debt. Like, it was like not those are exact numbers, but it's like, imagine if you made $1 million in 1 year, but like you didn't change your mindset, and that's essentially what happened to me at the very beginning. And I was just like fascinated by reading about that, and I'd have to look into it more on the specific numbers. But what you were saying about the lotto, I've read about that before too. It's fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just keeps repeating itself. You can see so many examples of it, whether it's lottery or someone that gets famous or whatever it is. And it all comes back to that person's beliefs. And for me, my belief around money and financial security has always been, I always have just enough. There's like, I'm never hungry, but like I'm just getting by. And that's always been my belief. And again, that goes back to my childhood and the way I was raised. And no judgment to my parents. I mean, they were raised by people who had those similar beliefs and lived through world wars and all of those tumultuous, crazy, traumatizing years of our existence. And so it makes perfect sense why they adopted those beliefs, and then without doing any self-work or really looking at themselves or trying to change anything, they just did exactly what they knew, right? What they were taught and what they were shown as child and throughout their lives. And so it makes perfect sense, and so no judgment at all. But that stops with me. Like, I'm not continuing these unconscious, self-sabotaging, just unhelpful beliefs or ways of living. And so for your example, it's like terrible things happen for sure, and it's awful, and we need to remember those lessons and to move forward in as positive way as you can. And that all being said, is you got to remember that those limiting beliefs are something that now you're continuing from something that happened to generations ago, and that belief that you can't do this because of your skin color or because of this is where you come from, is like, that's now something that you're putting on yourself in a sense. And to remember that none of that stuff matters. Like it doesn't, we're all humans at the end of the day, and in the way we're made up and everything is like, and we're incredibly powerful and we can do whatever we want. But when we believe those things, and even if it's on a subconscious level, we're going to limit ourselves and keep ourselves stuck in that negative crap, basically. And so to transcend that and to get beyond that and to stop believing that, you're going to heal 7 generations behind and 7 generations forward. And that's so empowering, is that and I keep coming back to this, is that it all comes down to us, right? And our beliefs, and it's not on our parents to do it or our kids to do it. It's us. We got to do the work.
You're muted.
Yeah, I don't believe it. It's just as the stage where my life is on now, because I even got another prayer to next stage to actually carry off. It's a code that I need to carry off, but otherwise it stay there. If I accept it, it stays there. But I don't want it to stay there. I need to carry off because I don't want to live in that environment. So that's why I was sharing it for other people, that when you actually want to achieve something, your color does not define who you are. And that's why I got really angry in spirit that nothing can define me moving forward. I need to move forward. And then my pastor was like, welcome to the world. And I'm saying, here's another prayer that you need to go to the next level. So I'm happy with that. So because my actually journey is to achieve the goals, what I want to achieve, but I don't want anything to stop me achieving those goals. So I need to move forward. So I've got another stage that I need to look at, which it has to be complemented by goals as well. So which is fine. And I know Amanda has to go. Amanda, do you have any words of encouragement? And also please let our audience know how can they find you?
Well, people can find me on my website or all my social medias, Art, Mindfulness, and Creativity. I really think that so much of, like what I said from that book, is our level of success really depends on our personal growth and development. And if you want to shift from scarcity to abundance, you really need to look at what personal development you are doing and who you're surrounding yourself with, because really that's the key to shifting your entire life.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Nick.
I think, yeah, I've kind of said everything that I wanted to, and I'll just leave with one last, I guess, example, and it's in nature. So if you think of a tree doesn't know how to not accept the water it's given. It doesn't know how to not accept the sunlight that's shining upon it. It doesn't have any of these limiting beliefs that we do as humans. It just accepts it all and grows. And so I think that's a good example for us to have that in our own life, is to stop sabotaging ourselves and not accepting these things that are our natural birthright, and abundance is our natural state. And so the work is to get rid of those beliefs and those blocks. And so this is an important first step for sure. And people can find me at my website, which is flowstatedesigns.ca, and again, all the social media is under Flow State Designs as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nick and Amanda. For me, be open to opportunities that comes your way. Stay present, be in the present moment, and also make sure your everything aligns with whatever you want to do, and trust the universe or trust God, that God is conspiring to bring abundance into your life. And then you'll be able to grab your portion in that galaxy where the energy is floating. Every name is there, so make sure your name is written there, and you grab your portion of success. And we are here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, UK time, 1 p.m. And please, if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching us on Facebook, like our page and be part of the family. And live with grace, everyone, and God bless.